Hey guys, with all the filmmaking allegedly that I'm doing, there's a couple things that I'd like to improve on. That's like if I have the camera in my hand and I'm walking along, you'll see some of this stuff. And they have camera stabilizers that you can buy. The cheapest ones are like 30 bucks, but they're probably junk. And if you want to get a decent one, you're gonna have to spend 100, 150 bucks on up. I mean, you can spend thousands on these things. So I went online and looked at the do-it-yourself camera stabilizers, and there's basically there's like three designs. One, you have a handle, your camera goes up here, and you have this piece that comes down like this and goes under and has weights on it, and it's counterweighted. That's kind of cool. They have some people that think like way outside the box, and it's kind of neat in a way. They have like PVC pipe, and they have this frame that you put the camera on top of, and you can glide it in and all this stuff, but there's still a little bit of shake there. And on some of these videos they actually show people walking along or running along, or you get these really cool shots like flowers or something. You come down like this and it's real smooth. But the one that really tripped my trigger, it's a real simple design. It uses what's called a gimbal, which a lot of them do. And the gimbal is basically just, you have a bearing here, you have two bearings here, so you have two access free. But if you, some of these, they have another bearing on the handle, so you have a 3-axis gimbal. Gimbal is just like a universal joint in your car. It moves several different ways. And I went to the hardware store. I found a couple things I thought might work, but it was going to be like over engineering it. So what I did is I went to a thrift shop and I found these, a pair of rollerblades, and I got them for $5. I don't know if you can read that. I got to upgrade to a camera that can do macro, but $5 for the pair. Don't know what size they are. It doesn't matter. I'm never going to wear them. But the cool thing is they have 5 wheels each, so I have 10 wheels I can experiment with. I only need 4 bearings. That's all I need. So I have plenty of room for if I make a mistake and something doesn't work properly. If I can't pound the bearing out. But I'll attach a few pictures after this part where I'm talking to show you like the professional ones, and then some of the home designs. And one guy he'll charge you 29 bucks to take a wheel with a couple holes drilled in it, a couple bolts, and a thing to go over it. He's going to charge you that. He's going to probably charge you $8, $9 shipping, and I'm going to do it all for $5. A few little parts here and there. So basically what this thing will do is you'll have a handle on a stick with a weight on the bottom that counteracts the weight of that camera, and I use a Kodak PlaySport. If you look them up online, really small camera. It weighs less than my cell phone. It's probably like 2 inches wide by 3.5 inches high, and like about that deep, really small. So I don't have to worry too much about a lot of weight on the bottom. Like a dozen decent sized washers will probably do it. And then you just lift it up and you let go, and as it swings down, it takes about 3 seconds to right itself. You're right on target. But I'll be able to move around close, and it won't be some of these other monstrosities that they take up a lot of space this way, so you'll be tripping over it and kicking it and making it jump around. This is going to be a lot smoother. Hopefully everything will go fine, but I think it will. I can MacGyver this, I believe. Okay, so about 10 minutes later, that's some Allen wrenches. Took off the 5 wheels, and this may come in handy at a later date since these wheels fit in there kind of nice. That might actually wind up being part of the handle for the whole thing. I just have to take a hacksaw and cut it off appropriately. But so far so good. And I get the way this is going to work is one wheel is going to be used as is. then a bearing from each, two other ones are going to go on either side. And then a screw is going to go in through the handle into that. So basically you're going to have an axis like this, and it's also going to have an axis like this. And then the handle will have an axis this way. So it's going to be three-axis gimbal. It's going to work out pretty well. So one of my biggest concerns was going to be how to get these bearings out of here. Well, I picked this one up. Which one was it? That one. The bearing just fell right out. So it's not going to be a real hard process of popping these guys out. I'm not going to have to bang them out. I don't want to use a press or anything. And here's one of them right here. And it's in really good condition. So, hell, there's 2 on each one. I have 20 bearings. I could make 5 of these things if I wanted to. But that's not going to be the case. One's good. Okay, there was basically 2 nuts and a couple washers, and then there was 1 hex screw. Took that off. Anybody want a pair of plastic shoes? I don't know what size they are. I'm guessing maybe a 9 or a 10. Way too small for me. And not very fashionable, by the way. Well, originally I was saying that this undercarriage here where the wheels go on might serve as the handle because they seem to fit equally between these 2 holes, but honestly I think that's going to be kind of overkill. It's going to cause extra work. I'm going to have to drill a hole here and then one on the other side, and then I'm going to have to cut all this crap. I'd probably be better off going to the hardware store. I can get some kind of a conduit hanger that will fit in here. I just have to bring this in when I go into the hardware store and just walk around and try to find something that'll fit it. I think that'll work. These, however, these may wind up being part of the body of it, or possibly the weights underneath, or something to cause the weight on the bottom, which I need. I'm not sure. I mean, these are aluminum, they're not really heavy. But the first thing I need to do is get this gimbal done. Drill the holes, one here. Try to fit 2 more bearings, one on either side. And then I can go from there and I can figure out what I need to do with the rest of it. But the gimbal and the handle, that's the #1 priority at this point. Because once I've got that, that really is like more than half the battle, I think. Because then the rest is just putting on the body of the thing, figuring out some weights on the bottom, and then figure out how to attach the camera. So it should go pretty quick. I should have to run down to the hardware store, I suppose. And running down to the hardware store is one of my favorite things. It really is. I wander around there all day long and they say, "Can I help you?" No, not really. Well, what are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for something that doesn't exist in the real world, only in my head. And believe me, that's not the real world. Those of you who know me know this. So for a grand total of $5.25, I got this big 3-inch conduit hanger. I got this guy here. I got some screws and some of these guys. And essentially what's going to happen is I'm going to bend these over with pliers, and then that's going to go around here. And I will have a screw going through, a washer on one side of the bearing, then the bearing, then a washer on the other side, and it will just get screwed right into the side. I'll have 2, one on each side. And then this, the bearings don't exactly fit in here, so what I have to do is I have to set this in boiling water for a little bit, get it softened up, and then try tapping it in. Or I may just grind out some of this with a file, and then the bearing will slip down in there. That's going to be the handle. Once a bearing goes in there, I can figure out what I want to do for the rest of the handle. But that will give it, it's going to have this axis, but the bearings I'm going to put on the other side, it's going to have this axis, and then with this, the handle, it will have this axis, so it's going to have a 3-point axis. Nice gimbal. Well, this is the beginning of it, but it's not working quite like I would like it to. These bearings are pretty much useless on here right now, the way they're set up. I may have to bring these dog ears in, but I had some washers in there, and it just didn't seem to turn as easy as this is right now. But this is just like barely on there. I drilled a hole on each side, and these threads are barely going in there. So, alright, well, back to the drawing board, as they say. As I had that 45-degree angle that I was going to use for my handle for that third axis of the gimbal, and this bearing did not actually fit in there. So what I did is I got a pot of water on the stove boiling. I set this down in there, and as it heated up, I mean, obviously it wasn't filled with water, it was only about like to here, but as it heated up, picked it up with a pair of pliers. This bearing was sitting on the counter, and I just set it down and pushed it down and popped right in. And then I just tapped it a little bit to try to get it nice and even all the way around. So far so good. So technically I do have a gimbal that's 2-axis. Here, this one spins, so whatever goes inside of here will spin this way, and then this. However, as you can see, when I spin it, it doesn't really end up where I wanted. It kind of haphazard. This may work. Since I've gotten this far on it, I don't like the fact that I'm using these like big screws actually instead of bolts. I don't like that, because this isn't really as stable as I'd like it. I mean, I could probably pull this and it would fall apart. I don't know for sure, but I don't want that to happen. Once I get the handle on this end, and that handle on this end will turn like this. So then I will have this axis, this axis as it is right now, and then this one as well. And then I can put a threaded rod through the center here. On the top part, that'll be where my camera goes, and on the bottom part there'll be some weight so that it can even out. Okay, this is what we have so far. This is the gimbal so far. Right now we have this axis, and this axis on here. So it's like 1, 2, 3. This handle, this is really rough. I mean, this is not the finished product, because as I'm doing some of this stuff, I'm realizing some things. This won't tighten down. This isn't the actual nut for this bolt. I just found one to just kind of get me going here, but eventually what will happen is you'll have a piece of threaded rod coming through here where the camera will be on top, and you'll have weights on the bottom which will hold this like this, and then as you make movements with your hand, this will want to stabilize, kind of like a gyroscope, and it'll want to stay level. I mean, there will be some tweaking as far as, like, the camera's small, so I won't have to do a lot of counterweights and things like that. I see some things online where if you're using a bigger camera, you have to put weights on the front or the back or slide the camera forward. I think this will work pretty decent like this. But this bracket, I'm not really happy with this. The way these bolts go in here, I mean, you can see there's like a little play here. I can kind of figure that out. There's another design that uses almost all PVC and bearings, and I've got 20 bearings, so I should be good on that. But that one, that may be the key to getting this working properly. Like I said, you know, if I had everything else right now, and I had this set up, it would probably, if I had the camera on here and I had the weights, it probably would work decent. You see there's a lot of movement there, but if you had weight, it wouldn't move. It's not going to be perfect like this, but it's a work in progress, and at least I got this finished today, so I can kind of get an idea of what needs to be done. The camera will go like this, and you'll have these smooth transitions, and like walking along you won't see all the footsteps. It'll just be this floating kind of a thing, because what it does is it takes your hand and your body out of the equation to a degree. I mean, you're still going to see movement like this. You may see a little bit like this, but that takes a while to get used to. But so far, this is what we got. And for Mike and Danny, you guys are budding filmmakers and you have GoPros. This will work for a GoPro. But my recommendation to you, go online. If you got a couple bucks, go online and look up Steadicams and gliders. There's some. They start at around 80 bucks. They go up to a lot, but you know, this is almost too much work. I mean, if you guys got plenty of tools and stuff at your disposal, then you can get a lot of stuff done. But if not, it's kind of a pain in the butt. But that's where we're at right now. Alright, sorry for the different format. This is my cell phone I'm taking the video with. This is finished so far. And remember I told you that it's got this long rod with some weights. The gimbal is done. It spins this way, it spins this way, it goes up and down like this. And my camera, see, I told you, it's a really small camera. So, at this point, it's not going to be working because it's got too much of the pendulum thing going on. So what I have to do, I start off with the weights way down here, and then I move them up. Right now, it's just a matter of getting the weights correct, the amount of weight, and where they're placed on here. I can also move the handle a little bit, and maybe that'll change some things. But so far, I think this will work. Once I get some footage, I can show you guys what it looks like. I did buy some plastic PVC to kind of make it look pretty. Now, with this camera here, I can show you close-ups too. Here, let me see. You remember at one point in the video you could see like these metal, I don't know, sleeves or whatever. I took those off because that was getting in the way. I've got these bolts on here. There's a bolt on top, a bolt on bottom, holding this into place, although I don't have this tightened down right now because I haven't found the sweet spot. I also have that bearing that I pressed into here, and then I came up through this 45 with another bolt. That's the one that comes through here. One of the plastic sleeves worked that came out of the bearings on the skateboard, so I have a nut here and a nut here holding that down. And then I got another piece of PVC to put in here, and this is like one of those ergonomic bicycle handles. At some point, what I'm going to probably do though, is I'll lop off the end of this, so I have the option of taking a longer piece of PVC, so I can not only zoom in like this, but I can come in really high and do some cool stuff, you know. But it needs a little bit of work, but it's really close. I mean, this part that I was all concerned with, it wasn't very sturdy. It doesn't look pretty, but it's pretty sturdy. I mean, it's tight. It has the right amount of swing on it. Just have to monkey with the weights. It's all about fulcrum. They say that you're supposed to go like this, and it takes 3 seconds to go up. Well, that's obviously more than 3 seconds, so I have to move the weights way up or something, I don't know. But it's close.